We need new horsepower." The words hit the conference room like a sledgehammer. I sat at the end of the polished table, my coffee growing cold as the board chairman's voice echoed off the glass walls. 18 years with Gravora Group, and this was how it ended. My name is Kim Briggs, 58 years old, and until that moment, I was Senior Vice President of Operations for one of Houston's most reliable logistics companies. I had built their route network from scratch, saved 3 major accounts during the 2008 recession, and guided the company through another downturn in 2020 without laying off a single driver. I thought that counted for something. "We're bringing in someone with a fresh outlook," the chairman continued, not meeting my eyes. "Someone who understands modern business dynamics." I knew exactly who that someone was. Chase Langford, 33 years old, married to the CEO's daughter. A background in lifestyle marketing, 0 experience in logistics. I'd heard the whispers for months. Family dinners where business was quietly decided. Golf outings where deals were made long before they reached the boardroom. I folded my hands on the table and waited. No point in arguing. No point in listing accomplishments or contracts I'd personally managed. The decision had been made, probably weeks ago. "Kim, we appreciate everything you've done for Gravora Group," the CEO finally said, glancing in my direction. His voice carried the well-rehearsed cadence of someone who had practiced this moment. "Your dedication has been noted." Noted. 18 years reduced to a single word. The meeting dragged on for another 20 minutes. They discussed transition plans, my replacement timeline, and the farewell gathering they'd be hosting. I said nothing. My mind was already elsewhere. In my jacket pocket, I felt the edge of a business card I'd been carrying for 3 months. A card that might change everything. After the meeting, I walked back to my office and started packing up my things. The farewell gathering was scheduled for Friday, just enough time for Chase to shadow me and absorb a fraction of what I'd spent nearly 2 decades building. As I placed my coffee mug in the cardboard box, my phone buzzed. A text from my daughter, Catherine. "How did the board meeting go, Dad?" I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I replied, "Big change is coming." I didn't tell her I'd just been pushed out. Didn't mention the inexperienced replacement with a powerful last name. That conversation could wait until I figured out my next step. The business card in my pocket felt heavier now. It belonged to someone who'd reached out months ago, someone who understood the value of relationships in this industry, someone who might be very interested in what I had to offer. The next morning, I arrived at my office early, as usual, watching the sunrise stretch across the Houston skyline. I've been coming to this office since 2007, when Gravora Group was just another mid-sized company trying to survive. I helped change that. I remembered my first major win, the Petroax Industries contract, a $120 million deal that everyone said we were too small to manage. I spent 6 months learning their delivery needs, building rapport, and designing a route system that cut their costs by 15%. When we won that deal, the CEO shook my hand and said, "Kim, you just saved this company." That was back when he still remembered my name. Over the years, I built something real, relationships with drivers who trusted me, clients who respected our service, vendors who knew a handshake with Kim Briggs meant something. I worked through weekends, skipped vacations, mortgaged my house once to help cover payroll in 2009. But somewhere along the line, it shifted. Chase started showing up at meetings, sitting silently in the corner, taking notes on his phone, asking questions that revealed he had no understanding of our operations. "Client said," I saw in their eyes. The warning signs built slowly. My input was no longer requested in major decisions. Budgets I once approved were rerouted to the finance department. When I raised concerns about a route change affecting our biggest account, I was told I was too focused on the past. 3 months ago, it became obvious. I was reviewing quarterly satisfaction reports when Alyssa Cormarmack from Petroax called me directly. We'd worked together for 8 years. I considered her a friend. "Kim, can I ask something off the record?" she said. "Is Gravora changing leadership? Some of our execs are hearing things." I was honest. "Nothing official yet," I said, "but there might be transitions." "I see." Then she gave me her personal card. "If anything changes, call me. What we've built matters." I thanked her, tucked the card into my wallet, and didn't think about it again until now. Now I understood what she'd really offered. Not just a card, a lifeline. By Friday, the farewell gathering loomed like a storm on the calendar. Same conference room, same glass walls. I spent the morning training Chase on our top accounts. He nodded along, but it was clear he didn't grasp the complexity. So basically, he said at one point, we just move stuff from point A to point B. I blinked slowly. That told me everything I needed to know. Contract? How hard can it be? Chase said with a laugh. I didn't correct him. I simply handed him the client folder and advised him to review the delivery specs carefully. At 3:30 p.m., I collected the last of my personal belongings and made my way to the conference room. There was a cake waiting, frosted with a blue "Thank you, Kim" on top. Maybe 20 people had shown up, mostly drivers and warehouse staff I'd worked alongside for years. None of the board members were present. Apparently, they had other priorities. The CEO gave a short speech about my loyalty and dedication. He highlighted my years of service, then offered generic wishes for my future. When he finished, Chase stepped forward. I just want to say, he began, that usual smug grin forming. Kim's done great work here, but business evolves. We need new energy, new ideas. Your time is up, old man. But don't worry. I'll take good care of what you've built. Silence. A few drivers shifted uncomfortably. One warehouse supervisor looked away entirely. I felt something go still inside me. Not anger, just finality. I didn't respond. No reaction. I shook hands with the ones who mattered and walked out, cardboard box in hand. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck for a long while, not turning the key. The sun was setting behind the Gravora building, casting long shadows across the lot. I thought about the 18 years of early starts, late nights, and everything in between. About the clients who depended on me. About the employees who trusted me. About Chase's smirk. Then I pulled out my phone and Alyssa Cormack's business card. She answered on the second ring. Kim, I was wondering when you'd call. The board made their move, I said. Chase Langford, right? The son-in-law with a marketing degree. That's the one. There was a pause. Kim, I think it's time we talk. Are you free for dinner tomorrow? I'll be there, I said. As I drove home, I didn't feel rage or bitterness. I felt clarity. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Saturday night, I met Alyssa at a quiet steakhouse on the west side of Houston. She had a corner booth tucked away from the crowd. I understood why as soon as she pulled out a leather folder and laid a few documents on the table. Before we talk business, she said, I'm sorry about what happened. 18 years of partnership, and they replace you with someone who asked me last week if our chemicals needed refrigerated trucks. I nearly laughed. Refrigerated trucks? For industrial lubricants. He confused us with a food distributor, she said, shaking her head. Kim, I've been in procurement for 15 years. No one's been more reliable than you. If you said a delivery was arriving Tuesday at 2 p.m., it arrived at 2 p.m. on the dot. She slid a document forward. This is our current contract with Gravora. $120 million over 3 years. Renewable. That's about 40% of their total revenue. I knew the numbers. Lived them. What Chase doesn't get, she continued, is this contract is built on relationships, not just rates. When the pipeline incident happened in 2018, you were on site by midnight. When our vendor failed last year during the freeze, you sourced a new supplier in 6 hours. I remembered both clearly. That's the job, I said. No, Alyssa replied. That's above and beyond for years. And now I'm expected to work with someone who thinks logistics is just boxes moving around. She leaned in. Petromax has authorized me to explore new logistics partnerships. Our contract with Gravora expires in 60 days. If we don't renew, they lose their biggest client. I set down my coffee. What are you suggesting? Balex Maritime approached us 6 months ago. They're expanding inland logistics and looking for leadership. I told them we were happy with our provider because you were still there. I saw now why she wanted the meeting off the record. If I joined Balex Maritime, then we'd have a reason to take their proposal seriously. For the next hour, Alyssa laid out the plan. Balex was local, well-funded, and ready to grow. They needed someone with experience, connections, and trust in the industry. The position? Executive consultant with equity. She pushed a paper across the table. The offer is strong. But more than that, it's a clean slate. No politics, no nepotism. I skimmed the terms. The base was competitive, but the equity potential? Massive. If Balex hit their targets, my shares would surpass my last 5 years' salary combined. There's one catch, she added. Balex wants a decision in 2 weeks. They plan to announce the new division head before month's end. 2 weeks isn't much time. It's enough for Gravora to realize what they lost. I'm telling them next Friday we're not renewing. And I'll be clear, we're seeking partners with actual experience. We finished dinner talking logistics. But my mind was already racing ahead. Contract? How hard could it be? I didn't correct him. I just handed him the client folder and suggested he read the delivery specifications thoroughly. At 3:30 p.m., I gathered the last of my personal things and made my way to the conference room. The company had brought in a sheet cake with "Thank you, Kim" written in blue icing. Maybe 20 people showed up, mostly drivers and warehouse crew who had known me for years. The board, of course, had other obligations. The CEO gave a short speech about my commitment and service. He spoke of my years with the company and offered best wishes for the future. Then Chase stepped up. I just want to say, he began, that smug grin creeping into place. Kim did some good things here. But business evolves. We need new ideas, new energy. Your time is over, old man. Don't worry. I'll take care of what you built. The room fell into an uneasy silence. Some drivers shifted in place. One of the warehouse leads looked down at his shoes. I felt something in me go very still. I didn't react. No debate. No farewell speech. I shook hands with those who mattered and left with my cardboard box. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck for a while, engine off. The setting sun cast long shadows over the pavement. I thought about the early mornings, the late nights. About clients who trusted me and employees who depended on me. About Chase's smirk, dismissing nearly 2 decades of grit. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out Alyssa Cormarmac's business card. She picked up on the second ring. Kim, I was wondering when you'd call. The board made their move, I said. Chase Langford, right? Marketing background. Family ties. Exactly. A pause. Then, Kim, we need to talk. Dinner tomorrow. I pulled out of the Gravora Group parking lot. No longer an employee. I'll be there. As I drove, I didn't feel anger or regret. I felt something clearer. Purpose. The game wasn't over. Saturday night, we met at a quiet steakhouse on the west side of Houston. Alyssa chose a booth tucked in a quiet corner. I understood why when she opened her portfolio and laid out documents on the table. Before we talked business, she said, I'm sorry about what happened. 18 years of partnership, and they replaced you with someone who asked me last week if we needed refrigerated trucks. For industrial lubricants. He thought we were a food distributor. She shook her head. Kim, I've been doing procurement for 15 years. No one is more reliable than you. When you say a delivery will arrive Tuesday at 2 p.m., it arrives Tuesday at 2 p.m. She slid a contract summary across the table. This is our deal with Gravora, $120 million over 3 years, up for renewal soon. That's 40% of their revenue. I knew the numbers by heart. Here's what Chase doesn't get. This contract exists because of trust, not just pricing. In 2018, during the pipeline issue, you were at our site at midnight. Last year, during the freeze, you found a new supplier in 6 hours. That's not typical. That's above and beyond. She leaned in. Petroax Industries has authorized me to explore alternatives. Our contract expires in 60 days. If we don't renew, they lose their biggest client. I set my cup down. What are you suggesting? Balex Maritime reached out 6 months ago. They're expanding inland logistics. They want experienced leadership. I delayed talks out of loyalty to Gravora, loyalty to you. But now, I understood. This wasn't just a dinner, it was a crossroads. If I joined Balex, we'd reconsider their offer. Over the next hour, she laid out the terms. Balex Maritime was well-funded, ambitious, and needed someone to lead the inland division. Executive consultant. Equity participation. full control to build a team. The offer is solid, she said, sliding over a document. But more importantly, there's no nepotism, no politics. The salary was good. The equity, transformational. If Balex hit their goals, I'd earn more than the last 5 years combined. There's one catch, she added. They need your answer in 2 weeks. They want to launch before the month ends. 2 weeks. Enough time for Gravora to realize what they've lost. I'll be informing them next Friday. I'll make it clear we want leadership we can trust. As we finished dinner, my mind was already 10 moves ahead. Chase would have 9 days with Petroax before learning they were pulling out. No connections. No clue what went wrong. Driving home, I felt anticipation. Not spite, just a chance to prove that experience still matters. I had 48 hours to decide, but truthfully, I made up my mind the moment Chase called me irrelevant. Monday, I called Balex. Meeting set. Their offices overlooked the ship channel, sharp and modern. I could see why Alyssa was impressed. Victoria Henley, their CEO, greeted me. Former ExxonMobil, sharp as a tack. Kim, your reputation precedes you. The Petroax deal alone is more than many firms' entire revenue. Alyssa mentioned you might be exploring inland logistics. Not exploring, expanding. 18 months in the making, we needed the right lead. Someone with your track record. She paused. Gravora's client retention is declining. 3 clients gone in 6 months. Service and communication issues. They're covering costs with credit, and their debt ratios are climbing. She handed me a folder, analysis, filings, industry chatter. Gravora was faltering, replacing expertise with family. Short-sighted, I said. She nodded. The logistics world is small. Word spreads fast. They weren't just looking to grow. They were eyeing struggling rivals. And I was a shortcut to expansion. We're talking to 2 more of your old clients. They're open to switching, if you're with us. I knew the names. Accounts I had cultivated for years. If I join, you run the division. Full authority. Build your team. Just keep doing what made you successful. Driving home, I saw the big picture. Gravora bet that clients stayed loyal to logos. But clients trust people, not buildings. Tuesday morning, I signed the deal. Victoria finalized it personally. My first call was to Alyssa. It's done. Perfect. I meet Chase Friday. Should be fun. What will you say? The truth. Petroax isn't renewing. We're pursuing leadership we trust. I imagine Chase scrambling. Meetings, emails, panic. But by then, it will be too late. Alyssa, I appreciate the trust. This isn't risk, Kim. It's smart business. Petroax needs reliability. That's you. Wednesday and Thursday, I work from home. Transition plans. Client files. Balex had tools Gravora only dreamed of. In many ways, I was stepping into something better. Thursday evening, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Gravora Group's main number. Kim, this is James from the CEO's office. Mr. Davidson would like to schedule a meeting with you tomorrow morning. Would 9 a.m. work? I nearly laughed. What does he want to discuss? He didn't give specifics, but he said it concerns client relationships and transition planning. Tell Mr. Davidson I'm no longer available for transition planning. My employment with Gravora Group ended last Friday. Sir, I think there may be some misunderstanding. This would be a paid consultation. There's no misunderstanding, James. Have a good evening. Friday morning, while I was reviewing contracts at Balex Maritime's offices, Victoria knocked on my door. You want to see this, she said, handing me her phone. It was a news alert from the Houston Business Journal. Gravora Group loses major client. Stock drops 15%, asterisk. The article was short but accurate. Petromax Industries had announced they were ending their logistics contract with Gravora Group, citing a realignment with a new provider. The market reacted swiftly. Shares fell in heavy trading. How did this hit the media so fast? I asked. Petromax is publicly traded. They had to disclose the termination, Victoria replied, smiling. And the business world's very interested in who they're switching to. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Kim, this is Chase Langford. We need to talk immediately. Call me. Asterisk. I showed it to Victoria. What do you think? I think Chase Langford is having a rough day. and it's about to get worse. That afternoon, I received 2 more calls from former clients asking about consulting availability. By evening, the word was out in Houston's logistics scene. The experienced pro was back in play. I didn't call Chase. I didn't speak to Gravora Group's executives. I didn't post statements or brag. I just picked up the phone and booked meetings. The market would do the rest. 3 weeks later, I was in my new office at Balex Maritime when Victoria appeared with a folded newspaper. "You're going to want to read this," she said, laying on my desk. Gravora Group seeks emergency funding after client exodus, asterisk. The article detailed everything. Petromax Industries had left first, then Morrison Chemical and Gulf States Energy followed, both naming Balex Maritime and our team's experience as the reason. In less than a month, Gravora had lost nearly 70% of their major contracts. The board had called an emergency session. Chase Langford had resigned, citing personal reasons. The CEO had accepted a bridge loan from private investors to stay afloat. "There's more," Victoria said, pointing to a side article. Langford joins father-in-law's real estate firm, asterisk. Apparently, logistics hadn't been the right fit. I folded the paper. What about Gravora's remaining ops? "They're downsizing." Jacob Miller's now operations manager. He reached out yesterday, asking if we consider a partnership. I remember Jacob, solid guy, good instincts. He'd inherited a tough job. "What did you say?" "That we're open to subcontracting if they meet our standards." It was the right response. Balex was growing fast, and we'd need support. If Gravora could rebuild with quality, we'd talk. But we'll be business, not personal. 6 months later, I passed Gravora's old HQ. A for-lease sign hung in the window. They'd moved to a smaller space on the city's south side, focusing on subcontracting. Jacob was trying to salvage the brand, but the damage was done. Most clients had moved on. I stopped at a coffee shop. My phone buzzed. "Catherine." Dad saw the Forbes article. "Congrats on the Balex expansion." The Forbes piece had praised our growth and inland market success. We'd tripled our client base, expanded into 3 new states, and my equity stake was now worth more than 2 decades at Gravora. But what mattered most was walking into our warehouse each morning, seeing loyal drivers and long-term clients, building something real. I finished my coffee and drove to the office. Victoria was already in, reviewing our next expansion proposals. We had opportunities in Dallas and San Antonio. Demand was strong. "Morning, Kim," she said as I entered the conference room. "Let's get to work," I said. The phone rang, and I answered, just like always.